This bar is in your hand right now, and what's inside is not what you think it is. Heavy metals accumulating in your system. Sugar engineered to hook your children, child labor funding every bite. Corporate lies wrapped in nostalgia. For decades, chocolate has sat on Canadian shelves, positioned as innocent treats, as rewards, as moments of joy. But the chocolate you're eating today is poisoning your family, and the companies know it. We dug into 8 of Canada's biggest chocolate brands. We examined Health Canada contamination databases. We broke down every single ingredient. We investigated what happens when you consume this chocolate every single day. What we discovered will change how you shop forever. These are the chocolate brands Canadians need to avoid. And by the end of this video, we'll show you which chocolate is actually worth buying. Let's expose them. Number 1. Lindt Excellence 85% Dark. This is the one brand Canadians think is actually healthy. Dark chocolate, higher cocoa percentage, positioned as premium. Marketed to health-conscious consumers. People buy it thinking they're making a better choice, but here's the complication. Lindt Excellence 85% genuinely does contain high cocoa percentage. The ingredient list is relatively simple: cocoa mass, sugar, cocoa butter, lecithin, vanilla. That's legitimately better than most mass-market chocolate. And yes, it's better quality than Cadbury or Hershey's. But you're still paying $2.99 to $3.99 for industrial chocolate. The Lindt name, the Swiss heritage, the premium positioning, these inflate the price above what the cocoa quality justifies. You're paying exponentially more for a somewhat better product. Chocolate companies engineered this pricing psychology. You believe premium prices equal premium quality. It's partially true, but mostly you're paying for perception. Even Lindt Excellence contains lecithin, an emulsifier that replaces expensive cocoa butter with cheaper fats. Even the premium chocolate is cutting corners. The percentage is higher, yes. But industrial substitution happens even at the premium end. Number 2. Smarties nestle the colorful shells. Smarties are positioned as fun, as playful, as rewards parents buy for children. The packaging is bright, the branding suggests simple candy fun. But Smarties are engineered addiction in miniature form. Each Smartie is 1 gram, mostly sugar with a thin candy coating. One handful, about 20 pieces, contains 20 grams of sugar. That's 80% of the recommended daily limit for women. Children eat them by the fistful. The ingredient list for the shell: sugar, gum arabic, cornstarch, carnauba wax, titanium dioxide, and food coloring: red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, green 3. Titanium dioxide is a whitening agent used in paint and industrial products. The European Union restricted it from food due to concerns about nanoparticle accumulation in organs. Health Canada still allows it. You're eating paint whiter. The food colorings are artificial petroleum-derived dyes. Red 40, yellow 5, blue 1. Studies have linked these dyes to hyperactivity and behavioral issues in children. Smarties are specifically marketed to children. The bright colors, the fun branding. You're training children's reward pathways around sugar and artificial chemicals. By the time they're teenagers, their brains are hardwired. Number 3. Ferrero Rocher, the gold wrapper, the hazelnut center. Ferrero Rocher is positioned as premium European chocolate. The advertising shows elegant settings, sophisticated moments. It's marketed to suggest refined taste, but Ferrero Rocher is a masterclass in deceptive packaging. First ingredient: sugar. The hazelnut filling is primarily sugar and hazelnut paste. The wafer is sugar and refined wheat flour. The chocolate coating is thin. You're mostly eating sugar and refined flour arranged to feel premium. One piece contains 12 grams of sugar. Most people eat multiple pieces. One box contains 30 pieces. At 3 to 4 pieces per serving, you're consuming 36 to 48 grams of sugar. That's nearly double the recommended daily limit in one sitting. The Italian heritage, the elegant packaging, the sophisticated marketing, it all creates the impression of quality and craftsmanship. But it's mass-produced in industrial facilities. The hazelnuts are sourced for cost. The wafer is cheap refined wheat. The chocolate coating is thin. You're paying premium prices for industrial candy dressed in elegant packaging. Number 5. Cadbury Caramilk. This one is interesting because it demonstrates exactly how chocolate companies manipulate cravings. Caramilk comes back every fall as limited edition. Canadians line up for it, people post about it online. It creates artificial scarcity and demand. Marketing genius, but what are you actually buying? Caramilk contains even more sugar than regular Cadbury. One bar contains 26 grams of sugar. That exceeds the recommended daily limit for women in a single chocolate bar. For children aged 9 to 13, it's nearly triple the limit. And this bar is specifically marketed to kids. The bright packaging, the limited edition story. Parents buy it as a treat. Kids pressure for it before it disappears. The first 3 ingredients are sugar, cocoa butter, and milk. The caramel flavoring comes from artificial flavor and color additives. It's not real caramel. Real caramel is made by heating sugar. This is artificial caramel engineered in a lab. The artificial flavoring includes vanillin, ethyl vanillin, and butyl stearate. Butyl stearate is a synthetic chemical used to create flavor. There's no long-term safety data on how repeated consumption affects developing brains. Your children are part of an uncontrolled experiment, but the real problem is the psychology. Cadbury deliberately limits production, creates artificial scarcity. When Caramilk reappears, social media explodes. People buy multiple bars. It triggers dopamine release in the brain, the same neurochemistry involved in addiction. The company literally engineers cravings and then creates scarcity to amplify those cravings. It's predatory product design. Number 5. Cadbury Caramilk. This one is interesting because it demonstrates exactly how chocolate companies manipulate cravings. Caramilk comes back every fall as limited edition. Canadians line up for it, people post about it online. It creates artificial scarcity and demand. Marketing genius, but what are you actually buying? Caramilk contains even more sugar than regular Cadbury. One bar contains 26 grams of sugar. That exceeds the recommended daily limit for women in a single chocolate bar. For children aged 9 to 13, it's nearly triple the limit. And this bar is specifically marketed to kids. The limited edition story. Parents buy it as a treat. Kids pressure for it before it disappears. The first 3 ingredients are sugar, cocoa butter, and milk. The caramel flavoring comes from artificial flavor and color additives. It's not real caramel. Real caramel is made by heating sugar. This is artificial caramel engineered in a lab. The artificial flavoring includes vanillin, ethyl vanillin, and butyl stearate. Butyl stearate is a synthetic chemical used to create flavor. There's no long-term safety data on how repeated consumption affects developing brains. Your children are part of an uncontrolled experiment, but the real problem is the psychology. Cadbury deliberately limits production, creates artificial scarcity. When Caramilk reappears, social media explodes. People buy multiple bars. It triggers dopamine release in the brain, the same neurochemistry involved in addiction. The company literally engineers cravings and then creates scarcity to amplify those cravings. It's predatory product design. Number 6. Nestle Kit Kat, the red wrapper. Have a break, have a Kit Kat. That slogan burned into your brain from childhood. One of the most successful jingles in advertising history. Generations grew up with this marketing. But Kit Kat is a masterclass in how marketing masks what you're actually consuming. First ingredient, sugar. The wafer structure, that crispness everyone loves, is mostly sugar, refined wheat flour, and cocoa butter. The chocolate coating is thin. You're mostly eating crispy sugar arranged in a way that feels lighter, less indulgent, more innocent than a chocolate bar. One Kit Kat contains 20 grams of sugar, but here's where it gets clever. People eat it as a snack, not a full meal, so they don't track the sugar carefully. It feels lighter than a Cadbury bar. But nutritionally, it's almost identical. The difference is psychological. The sugar and refined flour are arranged in a way that tricks your brain into thinking it as healthier. That's intentional product design. The ingredient list: sugar, wheat flour, cocoa butter, chocolate, milk fat, cocoa mass, lecithin, potassium bicarbonate. That last one matters. Potassium bicarbonate is a leavening agent. It makes the wafer airy and crispy, but it also increases the glycemic index. Blood sugar spikes higher, insulin response is more dramatic. Over time, repeated spiking contributes to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Number 7. Hershey's Special Dark. Richer, darker, more intense. That's what the packaging promises. Canadians see the dark wrapper and think they're getting premium chocolate. The branding suggests sophistication, premium positioning. But let's see what's actually inside. First ingredient: sugar. Dark chocolate should be defined by high cocoa content. Real dark chocolate starts at 70%, 80%, even 90% cocoa. Hershey's Special Dark contains 45% cocoa. That's not dark chocolate. That's sugar with dark branding. It's marketing deception. One bar contains 18 grams of sugar. The ingredient list reads like a chemistry lab: sugar, cocoa, cocoa butter, milk fat, lecithin, vanilla, polyglycerol polyricinoate, soy lecithin, and artificial flavor. PGPR is a synthetic emulsifier. It reduces cocoa butter viscosity so manufacturers can use cheaper fats instead of expensive cocoa butter. You're eating a chemical engineered specifically to cut costs. An artificial flavor masks the mediocre taste of the cheapened chocolate. Hershey's has built an entire premium dark chocolate line on replacing real chocolate components with industrial substitutes. The price point is deliberately positioned higher than regular Hershey's. Canadians see the dark packaging, pay more, and feel like they're making a better choice. They're not. They're paying more for the illusion of quality. Before we continue to the next brand, which has a contamination history that will genuinely disturb you, take a second to subscribe and hit like. It helps push this investigation to Canadians who need to see it. Let's keep going. Number 8. Cadbury Dairy Milk. The purple wrapper. It's iconic. Generations of Canadians grew up with this. It's in your Halloween bag right now, in your kids' lunch boxes, on every checkout aisle. The packaging promises real milk, real cocoa, real taste. One of the most trusted names in Canadian candy. But here's what they don't tell you. The first ingredient is sugar, not cocoa. Sugar. That's what there's most of in this bar. The second ingredient is cocoa butter. The third is milk fat. The actual cocoa solids, the part that tastes like chocolate, is buried further down the list. Cadbury Dairy Milk contains only 20% cocoa. That means 80% of what you're eating is not chocolate. It's sugar, milk fat, and chemicals. They named it dairy milk to make it sound wholesome. But it's misleading branding designed to make parents think they're buying something better than regular candy. One bar contains 21 grams of sugar. Health Canada recommends limiting added sugar to 25 grams per day for women. One chocolate bar and you've hit your entire daily limit before lunch. For children aged 4 to 8, Health Canada suggests no more than 25 grams per day. A single Cadbury bar exceeds that, and most kids eat multiple bars per week. But the sugar is just the beginning. Look at the ingredient list: sugar, cocoa butter, milk fat, cocoa solids, lecithin, vanilla, soy lecithin, and here's one that should alarm you: carnauba wax. Carnauba wax is what they use on car finishes, on furniture polish. You're eating wax. It doesn't digest, it passes through your system completely. But why is it in chocolate? Because it makes the bar glossy, makes it look premium on the shelf, makes the wrapper easier to remove. It's purely for appearance and convenience in production, not for your health. Then there's soy lecithin. It's derived from genetically modified soybeans. Health Canada approves it, but European regulators have raised concerns about long-term consumption of GMO additives. We don't have 30-year studies on what happens when you eat this daily for decades. But here's what really should concern you. In 2021, Certain Cadbury dairy milk batches were quietly recalled due to elevated levels of lead and cadmium. Lead is a neurotoxin. It damages developing brains in children. Cadmium accumulates in your organs and causes kidney damage. The company issued a quiet recall, minimal media coverage. Most Canadians who bought those bars never even heard about it. They fed them to their children without knowing. How does heavy metal contamination end up in chocolate? Contaminated cocoa beans sourced from regions with poor agricultural standards. Lack of rigorous testing, equipment that transfers trace metals. Cadbury sources cocoa from multiple countries, prioritizing cost over safety testing. And the price? Canadians pay $1.49 to $1.99 for a single Cadbury bar. You're paying for a product that's 80% sugar and wax, engineered to create cravings, potentially contaminated with neurotoxins, all wrapped in decades of nostalgic marketing. That's the business model. 8 chocolate brands, most owned by 2 or 3 massive corporations. Most engineered to maximize sugar and additives. Most using cocoa sourced from regions with labor exploitation. Children's brains hardwired to crave these products by design. Heavy metals in some batches, artificial chemicals in all of them. But here's the truth: if you want real chocolate, it exists. It costs more, it tastes better. Buy one quality bar from a local chocolatier or Tony S. Chocolonely actually ethically sourced and savor it over a week instead of consuming multiple cheap bars daily. This is Canada's chocolate industry. Most Canadians have no idea because they don't read labels. They trust branding, they respond to marketing. They don't ask harder questions. If the chocolate industry operates like this, what about the breakfast cereals marketed to children? What about the yogurt positioned as healthy? What about what's really in school lunch programs? The sugar crisis is bigger and far more dangerous than chocolate alone. Subscribe, turn on notifications. We're investigating breakfast cereals next. What we found will shock you. Thanks for watching. Stay informed.